The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to, we're both here, Dr. Cook.
That's right.
It's Wednesday, December 18th, and it's time for a call with Dr. Cook. So we welcome Limbic Arc customers and affiliates, and hopefully we'll have a productive conversation, Dr. Cook. These are kind of fun things to do.
They are fun. At least I think so.
Here we find ourselves in December, here in the United States, we celebrate Thanksgiving and we're through that. And now we're headed into, Christmas and the New Year, and which is certainly felt all over the world.
And Kwanzaa and Hanukkah. And right. So it's the holiday season.
It is. And as we think back on the year, we've been through a lot. Here we are, the last part of the year, and looking back at Limbic Arc and the things that have happened, it's actually quite impressive.
It is. It's been a fun year. It's been a great year.
We started out in January, and we were on a back-end system that maybe wasn't as good as it should be. Halfway through the year, we upgraded, and there have been a lot of things that have happened, and it's pretty amazing when you sit back and look at all of the developments that have happened so quickly. So
it's interesting too, George, because we've been at this for about 2 years now.
Wow.
We actually started Limbic Arc, I believe it was February of 2017.
Wow.
2018. So next January, February, it'll be 2 years.
It'll be 2 years. Well, and what's happened in a period of 2 years is amazing. And I know that there's a lot of things that are happening, and some, there's potential for new things to come out. But boy, when you look at what we have, it's just amazing and phenomenal. It's fun.
It's get better.
Dr. Cook, I have the ability, and I have to say this. We see what people send in to us, and we see how this web app has literally changed people's lives, and it's amazing that there was somebody that I was talking to the other day that said this app literally saved my life, and it's amazing when you see how much good can happen. And boy, here's to another year.
Here.
2020, here we come.
Yep.
Just as an update, after our call last month, we did add 3 additional InfoBoost ingredients, and they really were focused in on last month's topic of cardiovascular wellness and blood flow. And so there's some fun new ingredients in there that we hope are making a difference for people.
Oh, there they are: lactobacillus, butyric acid, and that other one.
It's interesting because there's some ingredients in here, and I maybe that would be an interesting thing, because we do get requests for new ingredients, but for the existing ingredients, sometimes you almost need to Google search them to really get a sense of what they are and what they can be used for.
Well, and obviously we do the research before we put them in, but then there's a description there so everybody knows. You click on it and it gives you some information.
I would suggest if you do a Spark scan and you see some additional ingredients that you might not be familiar with, maybe it's worth some time Googling.
Oh, yeah.
You might learn a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. And when you do that, it's fun because you go, oh my gosh, that makes sense.
Totally.
How did this thing know that?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, this month's topic is keep calm and carry on. So here we are talking about emotional. I know that this is usually a stressful time of year, and there are a lot of things happening. In fact, I hear your voice a little brusky right now, Dr. Cook.
I'm trying to be more manly this time of year.
You got the Barry White thing going on, but
I had a bit of a cold.
It's
my InfoBoost is helping.
Your InfoBoost.
Yeah.
What InfoBoost did you take for your cold?
I actually just did a Spark scan.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I started with the immune, and then I did the Spark scan to customize it.
Customized it.
Select the top items that showed up and a couple down below.
Isn't that amazing? Here we're talking with the founder that literally uses the product that is developed, and it works.
Well, it does. Yeah.
So anyway, we're talking about calm and emotional wellness. I think that goes without saying. Most people know that stress is a pretty significant deterrent to people's living their best life. Stress can mess up your immune system. I mean, have you ever had the pit in the stomach over stress? We know that it's affected with digestion, cardiovascular. When you're stressed, you don't sleep, you wake up in the middle of the night, even your reproductive system. And we could spend a lot of time talking about that. But stress really can affect people. And it seems like this time of year is maybe even more pronounced.
Yeah, I think, well, in the Northern Hemisphere, we've got a little dark and a little cold, and sometimes we have financial stress around this time of year that we don't experience other times.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about limbic arc is the answer is there. You have at your access for people who are using limbic arc, literally, you have at your fingertips help. It's just a matter of using it and knowing how to use it. And so that's what we want to talk a little bit about today. And I know that you've prepared some concepts.
I have some outstanding slides.
Well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And
I think Scott's turning this over to me, so I'll.
So you'll drive. So for those on the website, and of course, if you're listening to the recording, you should be able to see this as well.
So we're talking about calm and emotional wellness. This guy looks pretty calm in the picture. But sometimes this is what life feels like. Our calm and emotional wellness kind of gets squeezed to the side, and we feel like we're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
I think this guy hanging by the thread doesn't look too stressed, actually. He's probably got there by himself.
Oh, that's because it's not me. He's probably, if you could hear what he's saying there, it might give you some insight.
I get nervous just looking at it. Go ahead, John.
We feel it, though. I think everybody can relate to feeling out of control.
Well, and sometimes, as you mentioned, it's a financial issue. Or it could be that you're just angry or frustrated at, your computer's not working the way you think it should. Or we may be in a relationship where we're having some problems. And those things will be upsetting to all of us. So that means that our present reality is a bit dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And as we look to the future reality we want is probably more like that, where you've got a bag of money and a happy relationship, and the frustration and anger that you've been feeling is gone, and you're calm and happy.
So we know our struggles, but we also know what we'd like.
We do. And the challenge is that we have, and I'm doing something here there we go. Changing my computer so I can see it better.
Okay.
There's lots of future realities. And even though I'm in a stressful relationship now, there's no guarantee that in the future I won't be in the same stressful situation. So that's the challenge. And there we go. All of the choices and the directions that we can take are referred to as future-focused vectors. So if you follow one path, it's going to lead you to the desired outcome. If you follow another path, it's going to persist with the current stress and emotional unwellness.
Sure. These are just our consequences of the daily decisions.
And these vectors, a vector has two characteristics. It has direction and distance. So some vectors take you in the right direction. Some take you in the right direction, but not far enough.
Okay, sure.
So there's lots of choices. And the problem with vectors is these future-focused vectors, there's an infinite number of them.
Yeah.
And the question then is, well, which one do I choose? Where do I go?
Right.
And fortunately, we're all smarter than we think. Now, some of these slides I used last time with the cardiovascular presentation, so they may be familiar to some people, but I thought it was good to remind everybody.
Well, the concepts, and that's what I like about your presentations is they can apply to different things as well. This is not just on keeping calm and emotional wellness.
Well, this is kind of how the limbic arc works. So here we are. To understand that you're smarter than you think in about 2,000 pieces of information a second. And most of that thinking happens in the frontal lobe of your brain. In this area of your brain, you have a mechanism or a group of structures that are called the reticular activation system. And that part of your brain filters out from your conscious mind all of the low-level conversation and data processing that your body does. So it focuses your attention. And the reason you need that is because below the reticular activation system, your body is processing in the same second you're thinking at 2,000 pieces per second, your body's processing over 400 million pieces of information a second.
Wow.
So you're way smarter than you think. And the limbic arc does not interface with the part of you that is slow. It's not a conscious deal, it's a subconscious deal.
Right.
So we're talking to the part of you that's the smartest, and the way that happens is we have in the cloud a bunch of future-focused vectors. We call it our ingredients, so our InfoBoost ingredients. And to access those, one of the ways that you can do it is to create a Spark scan. The Spark scan requires some biometric input, and the two things that we use are voice and then a tactile response. So you talk, and then the program prompts you to, hit the target. And when you hit that target, that gives us the second piece of this information. That then is rolled together, and it creates the catalyst or the spark that ignites the algorithm. Excuse me. Okay. And that algorithm then processes these future-focused vectors, and they all get a score. And you then, from that score, you can choose which ones of those you want to include in the InfoBoost. And when you activate the InfoBoost by what's called a field effect, that information is transmitted to you at the level where you actually are the smartest.
So let me say this in the way maybe that I would understand it. You can choose an InfoBoost, and of course that's something that
Right.
you're consciously going to choose.
Yeah.
Right. And so now what happens is it gives you, if you do a Spark scan, it'll identify of your choice. These are the ingredients that are the future focused vectors. But then also the magic about the Spark scan is it gives you a bunch of other things as well, and now you can choose those as well, right? Depending
Right.
on how those.
Well, it scores all those ingredients,
Yeah.
and so you can see which ones score higher, and you can look at the description and choose. This one makes more sense to me than that one. You don't have to just do what the computer tells you to do. You can.
So now you're choosing.
You can apply your conscious mind to this.
There are a ton of ways that you can go with this data. Now you're just picking the direction you want to go. So if you're looking, this month we're talking about emotional wellness, you can find the ingredients, maybe do some Google searches and find things that connect.
Well, and that brings me to the next slide. So if my desired outcome are the three things at the top here, I can see then, and we were talking about relationship really, so let's stay with that one. But if I see that the vector that takes me to the better relationship is the one that is obvious here,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one I'm going to select.
Okay.
So
the magic of it is that it does all of the complexity that you've just explained. The complexity is all simplified for us. So it's just a simple matter of picking an InfoBoost, doing a Spark scan, and then selecting the ingredient.
Then turn it on. One of the things people ask, though, is, all right, you're talking about a relationship. Now, I understand that the library is, they'll tell us the library contains vitamins and herbs and amino acids and minerals. And what has that got to do with the relationship?
Right. That's a fair question.
Well, to understand that, it's helpful then to talk about this triad of health. The triad of health has three aspects to it: energy, emotion, and function. And that basically sums up everything about our bodies and how they work. If you're energetically healthy, emotionally healthy, and functionally healthy, you're going to have a good physical experience. And the way that the items in our library interface with emotion, for example, this is the way emotion is created. It starts with information. Information will then stimulate an energetic response. That energetic response will then organize amino acids into certain sequences called peptides that get folded into proteins. And different sequences and folding create different emotions.
Interesting.
So joy has a different structure than frustration,
Okay.
and love has a different structure than anger. The reason that affects the entire body is because in the triad of health, everything affects everything else.
Right.
Your emotion will affect your energy, and it will affect your function. You talked about, getting stressed and you feel this angst in the pit of your stomach. That's a physiological reaction to an emotional and an energetic input. So it happens that way. Here's an example.
Okay.
The girl at the bottom on this slide is experiencing grief. And it's the result of some information she has received that has then created a physiological reaction, and she's now experiencing grief. Maybe somebody called her and said, hey, your puppy died.
Right.
And she's feeling terrible about it. Well, she's got a physical reaction going on, and it's all based on that information.
Increased heart rate, breathing, frustration, pit in your stomach, all of those physical responses that we associate, and everybody does it a little bit differently.
Well, but grief is associated primarily with the lung and the large intestine.
Okay.
So grief will affect your digestive system and your respiration more than other things. Now, that's a Chinese medical kind of piece of information, but it's easy to verify that. You'll see in the lower right-hand side of this slide, the girl, the model we've got there with the dots on her stomach and her back, those are trigger points that relate to large intestine. So you may have a back problem, a low back problem, and it's actually caused because your puppy died.
Interesting.
It's a grief thing.
So you'd think you'd going to go to the chiropractor, get a back adjustment, or take some pain pills or something, but it could very well be the emotion that's causing that lower back pain.
It could be, yeah. And so you get the adjustment, and all of a sudden your grief feels better.
Interesting.
It's, again, these things, everything affects everything else. And the reaction can be physiological as well as emotional.
Okay.
So that's where the limbic arc comes in. You just take the information out of this equation and you put the InfoBoost in. The InfoBoost gives your body information that can create this same kind of cascade.
So it can. The InfoBoost can definitely affect emotions then.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you may have in your relationship, you've got, let's say, frustration and anger. Well, anger is a liver emotion. So you take a vitamin that supports the liver, and all of a sudden your anger subsides and your relationship gets better.
Wow.
So that's the reason why you can have such a strong, why an InfoBoost can have such a strong impact on every aspect of your life. Now, I've got this example, and so let's say you did a spark scan, and the thing that, and you said, look, the thing I'm interested in is a better relationship. The top thing that came up was bergamot, and you say, bergamot, I wonder what that has to do with the relationship. So you click on it, and here's the description that comes up, and I'll scan that quick. But one of the things it says, it helps people who have depression. So you might be feeling worn out. My relationship is depressing me.
Right.
Bergamot's going to help. And then you look at the next thing down, and it's Damiana. And you open up the description for Damiana, and it says, okay, this has to do with sexual function and impotence and frigidity. Part of this relationship problem may be, sexual frustration. I don't know. But you look at that and say, okay, that makes some sense. And then you select it and you activate it, and that information now is sent, again, through the field effect, directed at the person whose account here. So if this is my account, it's going to be directed to me, and it goes to the part of me that is the smartest.
The smart part.
Now, there's a trick that I want to close with really quick, and it's this one. When you do a spark scan, the instruction says to talk about yourself.
Yes.
And that's important because you want to focus. We're not just taking a voice sample, we're actually taking a voice sample that has some context and meaning. And my InfoBoost is going to benefit me, so that's why I talk about myself. If I have a relationship issue that I'm dealing with, when I talk, I should talk about my relationship.
Oh, instead of saying my eyes are blue and I'm such and such height or something.
Yeah.
You talk about your specific as it relates to you.
What I'm I've got this relationship problem and it's frustrating to me, and I get on my wife's nerves and she gets on my nerves, and boom, now we've got a voice print that relates to that issue, and it can be about any issue. It can be about money, it can be about whatever. My knee hurts. Now, then what happens is the spark that's created with that voice input then will be biased towards the issue that you want to address.
The issue you talked about.
And so you're going to see things show up in the spark scan that actually make more sense relative to the relationship, or will help more in the relationship. Now, this is a thing that you can do, because one of the questions that we get asked quite often is, what do I do for people, or what can I do better for people who don't feel the effect? That's a real issue. Tell them to do this. So when you demonstrate this to them, say, what is something you'd like to see better in your life? And have them talk about that. And then the spark will generate an info boost that will be biased towards that. And then say, okay, pay attention. And if they say, well, I'd like to make more money, or I'd like to sleep better, or whatever, have them talk about the thing that's on their mind. And I think we'll see a better effect that way.
So by choosing the info boost and then speaking about it helps to direct that result and response, and gives you a little more effective result. That's a great tip. Wow, what a powerful.
George, this is the last slide. So
okay. Well, what a fun way to go, Dr. Cook. I know that we could sit and listen for hours, but let's move on. I know that there are a few questions that come in, and I would encourage people to send in a question to Dr. Cook. Ask Dr. Cook at limbicarc.com. There are a lot of questions that come in, and we do like to respond to these questions, but some of them we want to talk about here. We've picked out a few. The first one actually is kind of what's been addressed. William asks, what is your advice for someone who tries an info boost but doesn't feel the effects?
And I would try this trick.
Okay.
I would say, and you might want to do that even with people who you're just introducing limbic arc to the first time.
So their first time experience, you want to give them a big wow, help them to be directed about it.
Yeah, I think we'll see some better results that way.
Awesome. Okay, Karen has a question. My grandson has struggled with getting along with classmates and siblings, along with being focused. I want to know if the limbic arc technology can help, and how he can actively participate even at his young age.
Well, you could give him a family plan account, and he could do a spark scan, and he could talk about getting along better with his classmates.
Okay.
Another thing you can do, because sometimes kids aren't responsive to that. I mean, they're going to say, no, I don't want to do it. The grandmother in this case could talk about her grandson and do a spark scan, and the spark scan will impact grandma, but as her energy field changes, it will actually have an impact on the grandson.
On the grandson too.
Yeah, or the mom or the dad, So
if the child's too young to speak or unwilling to speak, or
yeah, because we have another technology that we use that uses voice, and we've found that kids under 16, if the parent will do what's called a reframe, the kid will reframe right along with the parent.
Oh, that's great to know. I mean,
so I think grandma could talk about the grandson and just.
I mean, is there a recommended age? Is there anything that's too young in terms of doing a family plan spark scan?
I don't think so. I mean, a baby obviously would be difficult, but anybody who can speak.
Awesome. Joseph asked, what info boost would you recommend I use around the holidays?
Prosperity. Calm. I don't know, the holidays are any different than any other time of the year. I'd say if something's on your mind, talk about that. If nothing's on your mind, just talk about yourself.
Yeah. Get
a general info boost, and your body has an amazing way of selecting what you need at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that there are 3 info boosts allowed, and it'd be good to use them for different things, for sure. I mean, be smart about it. If you're feeling like you're getting sick or recovering or something, you know, maybe an immune InfoBoost or.
Yeah.
And I guess even though now we've categorized the InfoBoosts, I think that there's probably some value in looking at all of the InfoBoosts and scrolling through and maybe seeing what makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's easier and it does make sense to do that.
There's quite a few there, and we don't want it to get lost in the shuffle. So sometimes opening it up is a good thing to do. Okay, well, we're finishing up, and we appreciate everybody and listening in. If you have testimonials that you would like, we love to hear your testimonials. Please send them in. Go to our website. There's a testimonials page on the Contact Us form, and it actually gives some tips and tricks as to, you know, how to give a good testimonial that's usable and shareable, and we would encourage you to do that. We love to hear your stories, and we love for you to share them with others, so we'll do that. Also, I would mention that this announcement and the email will come out tonight with the replay link, and so we'll be sending that out shortly, so you'll be able to click on that and listen to this at another time, or share it with a friend if you think it might be helpful for somebody else. So
we'd love that to happen.
So I guess on behalf of Limbic Arc, and you know, with the gratitude at the end of the year and for where we are, and with the optimism of what's to come, it's an exciting time of year. But Dr. Cook, thank you for taking time. And
it's great to be here, and thanks everybody for being here with us.
All right. Until next time, have a good holidays from Limbic Arc.